Hello, my name is Jorge Avila, and today I will present my results about Challenge 7 called Java and JavaScript Programming Procedures, part of a Mexico Program Backend Developer Certification from DigitalNao, Tecmilenio, and Technoready. So let's start and see what I did for this challenge. First, talking about the business summary, the principal goal of this challenge is to implement comprehensive unit testing for booking MX reservations and graph visualization models to ensure platform reliability and prevent production failures. The impact that we expect to accomplish in this challenge is to quality assurance, 90% of the code coverage, bug prevention, early detection of issues, customer confidence, development speed, faster interactions with automated tests, and also technical excellence with industry standard testing practices. Talking about the problem context, before our solution, the solution I will present in this challenge, the problems were: first, we have manual testing was insufficient, and second, we have new features crash in production because some models was not tested. Also, in this case, booking MX don't have automated testing. After our solution, we expect uh, the the before points. First, we have 64 compressive unit tests, 90% code coverage, continuous validation, and also safe refactoring of the code. And finally, document behavior. Talking about the hypothesis, if we implement comprehensive testing in this application with JUnit for backend service testing, Jest for front-end graph logic, Jacoco and Jest coverage for metrics, and clean code practices for maintainability, like documenting the code, documenting the graph, and documenting also the tests, the issues we found, and also all of that. And then we will prevent production failures, increase code quality by 90%, enable safe refactoring, reduce debugging time by 60%, and also build customer trust in the platform. Talking about the backlog and the task that I did for this challenge, first we have a sprint one, that it was backend testing, and the principal task of this challenge were create project backlog and roadmap, also configure JUnit 5 and Jacoco in Maven, implement 20 unit tests for reservation service, test create, update, cancel operations, validate the logic and also exceptions, and also document all the issues and resolutions that we have for this challenge. And the rules for of this sprint were first the roadmap and also the technical report, and finally the GitHub repository initialized. Talking about sprint 2, here we have front-end testing with JavaScript using Jest, and the principal tasks were configure Jest for ES6 models, implement 44 unit tests for graph module, test graph class, validation, and also the searching, cover edge cases and error handling, document technical difficulties, and content cross review with all teammates. The results of the challenge was the updated GitHub repository and also the backlog. Finally, we have sprint 3, and that it called like documentation. In the challenge, I add Java comments to backend code, and Jest comments to frontend, create system architecture diagrams, complete readme.md documentation, and also document test execution process, update the GitHub repository, and also the backup. Finally, we have the final submission, that is this video, and also the presentation. And talking about the key features we deliver for this challenge, first we have the backend testing. We deliver like 20 unit tests for reservation service fully covered, and 90% coverage, instruction, branches, lines, high quality reports, detailed coverage metrics, exception testing, all error scenarios validated, date validation, complex business logic tested. And talking about the front-end testing, we have 44 unit tests, complete graph model coverage, 100% coverage, statement, branches, functions, edge cases, empty data, null values, invalid inputs, poor functions, easy to test, no side effects, and also the Jest reports, HTML coverage visualization. Talking about the testing architecture that I use for the challenge, we will have talking about the front-end testing. We have 15 tests for graph class, 11 tests for data validation, 3 tests for graph building, 11 tests for city searching, 4 tests for sample data, and also the results with the coverage Jest. Talking about the backend, we have 88 tests for creating operations, 5 days for update operations, 4 tests for cancel operations, 3 tests to list operations, and finally the coverage with Jacoco. So in this moment, I'm going to show you a demo about testing. So let's see the demo. Here we have our IDE to test this. First, I'm going to show you the testing about the backend. Here you have the testing test suite for reservation service, covers create, update, cancel, and also list operations, including positive and negative scenarios. First, we set up the service to use it in this testing. And here we have the create reservation with valid data, also create reservation with sequential IDs, create reservation with null, create reservation with no checkout if failed, create reservation with checkout before check-in, it should fail, and also create reservation with same check-in and checkout should fail, create reservation with past check-in should fail, create reservation with past checkout should fail, and also we have the reservation test, and also the cancel reservation test, and finally the list reservation test. And also we have a helper method to create a valid request, like create an object of the reservation. So let's run this using Maven clean test Jacoco report, and this front end. Now Maven clean test Jacoco report. So let's run it. And this runs all our tests, 20 test runs, and also build success. So let's see the report. Let's see the report of this. Open targeted site Jacoco index. And here we have the report. Here we have the booking reservation service is 90% coverage, as I said before in the presentation. And also this is all for the backend. So let's see the front end. Let's see the front end. Here we have the graph test for the front end. There are 44 tests of each cases. Is unit test for graph GS model, test city, graph functionality, validations, and every city calculation. And also here we have the test for add city, the test for validate graph data test, and also the test to get nervy cities, and finally the sample data test. So let's run it. npm test, and here we have the test, and we have one test suite that is the graph.test.js, and here we have the Jest report with graph.js with this 100% coverage of each branch, functions, lines, and also statements. And that's all for the demo. So let's continue with the presentation. Now we have the evaluation criteria, and the satisfaction of the challenge is master JUnit 5, Yes, Yacoco in testing best practices. Also the scope deliver all requirements of this challenge, 64 tests, and more than 90% coverage, and also the documentation that I have in my GitHub repository. Talking about innovation, comprehensive edge case coverage, clean test architecture, detailed issue tracking. Talking about quality, clean code following, AAA pattern, and also industry standard documentation, and also production ready test. All the documentation is in my GitHub repository. Solution of this challenge, where we have organized structure with clear folders, readme with setup and execution instructions, and screenshots providing test success. Talking about the code, progressive test development across 3 screens, backend and frontend coverage, automated coverage reports with thresholds, comprehensive documentation with Javadoc and GSDoc. And the conclusion of the challenge, I built comprehensive test suite with 64 unit tests. I achieved the more than 90% coverage on both backend and frontend testing. I document 7 issues that I found in the code, and I fixed it through testing. I created production ready, maintainable test code. I followed industry standard, JUnit, Jest, Javadoc, GSDoc, and the recommendations that I get for the challenge. First, add integration tests for API endpoints, implement CI and CD pipeline for automated testing, expand front-end tests to include UI interactions and UI validations, and also add performance and flow testing for scalability. So that's all for this challenge. Thank you to watching this video. See ya in the final challenge.